Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. This week's video, we're doing the October bullet journal spreads. So the theme this month is disco dancing skeletons. I found this one pin on Pinterest by bujo.benito. Don't know if I'm saying that right. And anyways, it's a bunch of silhouette skeletons with really bright color blocks behind them and like a disco ball with the October. So I'm using their idea and then expanding upon it, mixing it with a different disco ball type theme that I saw. So I have all of my spreads drawn out and we're going to do things a little bit backwards in this video. I may end up having to time lapse a bunch because it's going to take a lot of concentration for me to draw all the little bones and whatnot. And we all know from experience at this point that I don't focus or I can't like draw and speak at the same time. So anyways, these are the spreads that I have drawn out. As we get to the end, I kind of started back here and then I went the other way. So this is what our skeletons are going to look like. They're getting down and dirty, dancing on my spreads, and then we're going to do the color. So anyways, we're doing color first and then line art, which is bold, you may say. And that's just because when you put a lot of black ink down, whether it's a like line art pen, a marker, or a fine, like a brush pen fine liner, either way, I find that it kind of smears with the markers. Maybe that doesn't happen with more expensive markers, but mine are pretty cheap actually. So anyways, I just don't want them to be smearing because they're pretty bright colors and I'm trying to keep things very vibrant. So we're going to be doing the color first, and that's why a lot of my skeletons are not fully fleshed out, and it's because I don't want to have to like erase too much pencil before we get into things. So without further ado, let's get into this month's plan with me. First skeleton I'm starting with is obviously the one for the calendar page. I've decided to go in with my bright green for this one. So I did just use my kneaded eraser and kind of get rid of most of the pencil here. And I'm going to start by going around and outlining the color block box. And then I will just fill in the entire thing with color. I've been wanting to do this spread literally since, I don't know. I don't think Pinterest saves like the date that you pin your pins, but I've had this pinned for a really long time and I knew that this is what I wanted to do for October. October is my favorite month because I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year, and that means I try and plan my October spreads well in advance so that it's something that I'm really happy with. This year is no different. I am kind of running short on time, which I feel like I have been for the last couple months. And I feel like I say that in every video, but anyways, I'm getting married this month. So I have a bunch of preparations left to do, almost done with that. And that doesn't really leave me a whole lot of time to work on other art. So we're doing our best here with the bullet journal. And because I will be away at the beginning of November, I'm also gonna try and do my November spreads sooner rather than later. So don't know what I'm going to do for that yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. But like I said, I've had this planned for a really long time and I've just been so excited by the idea. So I'm happy that October is finally here and I'm finally getting to flesh this idea out for real this time. I also plan on using this design as one of my like fill in the blank bullet journal themes because I was inspired by one specific picture and then I kind of took the theme and ran with it. So I figure that is good for a theme for the fill in the blank bullet journal one. It also leaves room for you guys for a lot of the coloring in, which is the whole point of the fill in the blank bullet journals. So I'm really excited to be able to use this theme for that. I'm just gonna go across the top one more time here because I can't draw straight lines to save my life apparently. We'll do top and bottom. And that is the first square done. Now I can barely see my pencil, so it may be a tad difficult to draw on the skeleton later, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For a lot of my different headers and boxes here, I want to have them in black, but have the words or the numbers, whatever is going to be in the box, as colors. So I'm going to go in with the colors first and then try my hardest to not cover all of the color with the black marker. I've laid out the colors that I want in the order that I want them. So orange is like on the end here. And because green is this giant box here, I'm gonna start with orange and we'll fill it in as Sunday. Trying to keep these letters as chunky as possible so that when I do go over it with the black pen, I'm not really losing that color. So then we'll just pretend that I'm filling in the other colors, 1, 2, 3. And then this here is Thursday. So we'll draw in the Thursday. That's not how we spell Thursday. There we go. That's the one good thing about black marker is you can just fill in right over top of that. And now I'm gonna do the same thing with my other colors here. So after orange, we have purple. Perfect. Okay, so now that that is all done, I am gonna go around those with the black, like I said, and then I will use probably the same colors, but like offset one to do a little color circle behind the numbers, and I think that'll just tie everything together. But I'm not gonna do that right now because we're doing color first and then line art. Okay, after re-sketching in some of these skeletons and adding a little bit of extra detail to my disco balls, I think I'm ready to start at least a little bit of the line art because I feel like, I don't know, I just don't really want to do any more color right now. You wouldn't believe, but it has been probably an hour since I started the color in now because of how long it took to draw all of these stupid little lines in the disco balls. But anyways, like I said, let's get started with the line art. I am going to start, I think, with the yellow one, just because it's easiest to see the line art right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and go in with, I think I'm gonna start with a micron number 3, just so that I can get the thinness that I want, and then if I want to touch up with a brush pen, I will. So I am gonna flip into time lapse because I cannot concentrate on this and then also talk at the same time, so. That actually went pretty well. Some of these bones are a little funky looking. This is definitely not completely anatomically correct, obviously. We're going for cartoon skeleton vibes here, but I think it's cute. The rib cage did get a little messy, but for the first one, I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm just gonna keep going ahead and filling in with my black marker, and when it gets to be too thin of a spot to fill in, then I will switch over to a fine liner. I just don't want to use a fine liner for the entire thing. I've also chosen not to draw all of the metatarsals and metacarpals, obviously, as you can see by my like spider fingers and feet here, because there's like a bazillion metatarsals and metacarpals. Not literally, of course, but it sure feels that way some days when you're looking at x-rays and whatnot. So anyways, I'm just gonna keep coloring this in and work on more skeletons. Okay, the first spread is officially done, and it took way longer than I thought it was going to, but I love the way that it looks. So I'm gonna keep going. Now that I kind of have the feel down for what it's gonna be like, I'm gonna go back to the beginning and we'll start and then move our way chronologically through the journal. I am still gonna keep this mostly to time lapse though, because I don't wanna bore you with the same things that you've seen.
Voiceover Kyra here. I'm sick and I address it in a second in the video, but I forgot to film a whole bunch of this calendar spread, so this is literally all you're gonna see, and I apologize for that. I was really quite tired actually when I was drawing this, and it was just the cusp of me starting to get sick. So brain fog, brain fart, whatever you want to call it, I forgot to film most of this, which is so unfortunate because I really love the way that it turned out, and I would have loved for you guys to see the whole thing.
I think this is where I left off. I started this 2 days ago and haven't touched it because you can probably hear in my voice. I got sick and I had work and I had to call out of work, and it's been this whole thing. So unfortunately you will hear the sound of my congested head cold sick voice for the rest of this video, and I do apologize for that, but let's keep going. I'm gonna move on to the habit and mood tracker spreads right now. God, there's like fluff flying everywhere. So that is going to be our disco balls for the habit trackers, and then the skeleton dancing in the center for the mood tracker. I'm going to try and do these disco balls kind of like this one because I like the way that that looks. And then I'm just going to outline the corners of all the squares for the mood tracker and do the skeleton the same way here.
So the reason I decided to go with the filling in the different squares behind the skeleton as the design for this mood tracker is because I thought it would be kind of cool to look almost like disco tiles, like a light up dance floor. I don't know if that's actually a thing that existed or not. Every club I've ever been to does not have that, but I thought that's what it would kind of look like as the final product, which would be cool. And then for the calendars, I decided to go with just the big boxes, not splitting them up into grids, not writing in the tiny numbers. Otherwise, it would get too busy with the design of the disco ball behind it. And then I didn't want to, bore you guys with trying the same disco ball 7 times. So there you just see me adding them on strings. I will add the type of habit or whatever in colorful writing along the edge of the disco ball, and that's how I will denote which disco ball is which habit, and then I'll just use whatever color I want to fill in the little squares for the days of the week. All of these skeleton poses also, I should probably mention, I stole off of Pinterest and a wallpaper design that I saw.
For this weekly spread, instead of doing the black and white disco balls like I've done for these 2 pages, I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different. There's a pin that there's a pin that I'm referencing, and it has like kind of just spots of color and then the lines of the disco ball drawn over top. Like there's no rhyme or reason to where the color is. So I think I'm going to do that using the 4 colors that I've chosen here. And then we'll do a black border for the boxes and then color for the words, but this little sparkle star or whatever in the center will be black for these ones. And then we'll do the skeleton the same way that we've been doing, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my kneaded eraser and get rid of a bunch of the pencil lines here, and then we will jump right into adding some sort of abstract color design to these disco balls. I'm a little scared how this is gonna go. I really hope I don't ruin it. I'm kind of afraid I'm gonna hate it, but I'm just gonna go color by color. We'll do some orange next. I'm gonna try and not like overlap the colors because I don't want them to get all brown and muddy, but I'm hoping that once I add the lines over top, you will be able to tell that this is a disco ball and not just like some haphazardly colored sugar cookie looking thing, you know? Now I'm gonna go with my number 3 micron and just outline the same shape that the rest of these disco balls are in. The reference picture that I'm using is using very pastel muted colors and the line art is blue, but we're sticking with black and fingers crossed it doesn't suck. Okay, they could look better, but they also could look worse. So I'm not mad about it. These little sparkles on the side here, I'm gonna do like these ones, so they'll be colored. And then like I said, I'm gonna outline these in black and then have colors for the words.
In the middle of me drawing these spreads, my fiance called and to FaceTime, so I did some of this off camera, but I really like the way that I mixed up the colors so that it's not the same color for every day of the week, as you can see here. I also added a little star in between the word and the number for the day of the week just to keep things a little bit interesting. It just makes it look very whimsical with all these different colors and little stars everywhere, so I really like the way that turned out. And then I did the same thing for the skeleton. I had to add 1 black star because it was bordering on the edge. Did I have to? No, but I wanted to. So then I went ahead and added some more black stars throughout the disco balls on the other 2 pages. Or I guess on the other 1 page and a half, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, I'm getting distracted now. And I like the way that those simple little black line art ones look in addition to the ones with the color.
Moving on to our next spread, I'm just gonna time lapse through me drawing the skeletons and the disco ball because it's gonna be the exact same as the rest of them. And then for these boxes here, I'm gonna have the top color do the same thing as the spread that we finished on the next page. So their words will be in color and then there will be black around the outsides. So I hope that I don't run out of black ink because a few of my markers seem a little bit dry. But we'll start with green here. I do have my order of colors that I think they look best in, and because I don't want to start with purple right next to the purple, we are going to start with green for Sunday here. So I'm just going to keep it really simple with the block letters so that it's easy for me to color around it in black afterwards. So I'm going to continue this for the rest of these boxes, and then I'll bring you back for some real time for how long it actually takes to outline these letters. Like I said, I was going to bring you back for the real time of outlining these letters. So we're going to start with Sunday. I'm using my soft tip Tombow brush pen, and I'm just going to go around each of the letters. I'm not caring about whether or not it's like super clean or even, as long as you can see green and clearly tell what day of the week it's supposed to be, like what it's supposed to be saying. That's all I care about. So we'll do that for every single letter and the numbers. This time I'm not worrying about putting a little star or anything like we did on the last page. It's just solely the number and the day of the week. This is a little bit less time consuming than the other spreads that we've done with this same design because the letters are bigger, so it's easier to draw around them. Like obviously that didn't take very long. Obviously it's going to take a little bit longer for me to outline the one that says notes because that's just more letters to go around. And then what I'm going to do is just outline this box here with the same brush pen. And then we'll go ahead and fill it in. I am going to do all the outlines first before I fill it in, just to make sure I don't like dry up my marker.
While coloring in and drawing around all of these days of the week, it almost made me wish I used black paper and my acrylic markers instead. As much as I don't love how many coats of ink it takes to use the acrylic markers on black paper, I honestly think it would have been less time consuming than for me to do this. And in my opinion, this looks a little messy, probably because I'm not very good at block letters. It's like one of my least favorite types of letters to do. I'd much rather do cursive, even though I kind of suck at cursive too. But anyways, I did it. It's done. There's no fixing that. And then I jumped around before coloring things in to do the disco ball because I didn't want to dry out my marker before getting to the important part of the fine lines of that disco ball. And you can see here that I added more of those stars that I like just kind of in the background. And then once everything was colored in, I went ahead and drew the skeletons. The pose for this one I also found on Pinterest. It's some sort of, I think it's like a sticker design or something. I don't know. I just liked that it was 3 skeletons all dancing together, and I thought it would fit really good on the page. The design on Pinterest has them like in way more anatomical detail and very sparkly, so I did not do that. I just used it as a reference for the poses because I wanted the skeletons to match the rest of the skeletons, aka being more simplistic and cartoonish and entirely in black line art. I couldn't really see my sketches for these skeletons, even though I did go over a little bit, so I did kind of wing the poses a little bit. You can probably see me pause for a second at some point in these clips to decide what I'm doing with the arms. So that was a little bit of a struggle because of the whole cartoonness of this thing, but it ended up turning out and I'm happy about that.
We're gonna pretend that the skeleton arms make sense as they're like hugging each other close. We're not gonna pay too much attention to it because my brain can't wrap my head around it. So that's enough of that. Anyways, now we're gonna move on. This next spread is a disco skeleton head, and I don't quite have an idea for that yet. I don't know if I want to do it like these disco balls here or if I want to do it like this one. So I'm actually going to skip that one and do the final spread first, which is just another dancing skeleton, and then I'm going to outline these boxes. I think I might actually outline them in color and then do the writing in black just to change it up a little bit.
Just like the rest of my spread, since purple was the main color on the page, I chose to only outline one box in purple, and then the rest of them were going to be in the other 3 colors I had chosen. I like the way that this just kind of brings a little bit of extra life to the page instead of having black outlines. And this is the last full body skeleton that I will be drawing. Unfortunately, I did make a mistake with this skeleton and I didn't notice it until I was coloring it in after the line art, but I drew the tibia and the fibula on the wrong side on the left leg. So I drew them the opposite way they should be, which is not a big deal if you don't know anatomy, but to me it irks me because I deal with that like every single day at work. So anyways, we'll just ignore that part. And then I decided to jump right into this last spread that we're seeing, but second last spread in the journal. And I did choose to go with the colorful disco balls like in week 1, just because I was really tired at this point and I could not make any decisions for myself other than I just need to get this done. I did decide to draw a little chain that's attaching this skeleton disco ball, and then I drew in the days and numbers of the week and added in some color. Would it have looked better if I kept everything symmetrical? Probably. So this whole page is kind of just a page of failures, but it doesn't look that bad. It's just not my favorite. So, you know, it is what it is. That happens in most of my bullet journal spreads.
And here is the final flip through. So I hope you enjoyed these spreads. I think it's a really funky, cool theme, and I really like the way that they turned out. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. I post new videos on Mondays and Wednesdays or Thursdays about twice a month. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you all in the next video.